Hello, I'm Rosie, and today I'm going to do a book review of Elizabeth is Missing by Emma Healey. Elizabeth is Missing is about a woman called Maud who is suffering from Alzheimer's disease. As a result, she struggles to remember day-to-day things like when she's put on the kettle to make a cup of tea, or even who her carers are. The one thing she does know is that her friend Elizabeth is missing. This she knows because she keeps finding notes she's written with those words on them. The novel is told in two timelines. Maud in the present day, as her dementia is progressing and how she's trying to find out the mystery of what happened to Elizabeth, and Maud in the past, which is a parallel story of how her sister went missing. I had the absolute pleasure of going to a talk given by Emma Healey, where I also got the book signed. Excitement. But I found the talk to be both incredibly enlightening about the book as well as about how Emma Healey set about writing the novel, which is absolutely fantastic. This book is one of the few books that I've read about Alzheimer's disease that captures the disease in not a good light per se, but it's done well. It's an excellent portrayal of how dementia progresses and affects the person, especially since it's written in first person, so you see how dementia progresses from Maud's point of view and how she gradually forgets even more of her life and everything around it. It gets kind of scary at some points with the depiction of dementia, as you realise how traumatic it can be for those around you as well as those who are suffering from dementia. But what I really liked more than anything is the fact that though Maud does have dementia, it doesn't define her. Maud has her own distinctive personality. She just happens to be someone who is suffering from Alzheimer's disease. Whereas other things I've read, the character is very much defined by the disease, which is not really how it works. The person is still who they are. It's just their brain's just struggling with memory and cognitive abilities, and I really loved how well this book was able to depict that. It also increases the tension as the dementia progresses very well. It's not something you notice straight away, but you gradually notice it more and more. I also really like the contrast between the events told in present day, which Maud struggles to remember, and the story told in the past, which Maud is able to remember with distinct clarity. This kind of highlights how dementia affects short-term memory before progressing to long-term memory, but also adds a sense of confusion for the reader so they can sympathise a bit more with Maud, as well as showing how different life is with dementia and without it. The story itself is really fascinating. There's two mysteries to be solved, and while the one in the past is kind of easy to guess, you don't really quite know the resolution, so when you do find out the truth, it's not as disappointment. I knew that already. It was still such a good resolution, especially when it's talked about in the present day as well. And the present day mystery, this was one that I did not guess what had happened, and that kind of makes it a bit more thrilling when you find out the truth. It also makes the story a bit more heartbreaking. Like, the last line of this book really hit me, and when I closed I just had to sit and think for a while. It's one of those books that really does make you think and really makes you look at dementia in a different way, which I think is fantastic given how dementia is something that's not really been talked about much in the past, but it's gradually getting much more awareness at the moment. This book is just so well informed, it's sympathetic, there's such a realistic treatment of the characters. You feel like you're a part of this family and this world. There are a few characters, especially like the more prominent male ones, where they didn't seem quite as believable as the female characters, which are incredibly well-rounded and well written, which I think is where Emma Healey's strengths lie. And listening to her talk about her own experiences with dementia and how the book is based on her grandmother and her grandmother's stories of the past, it really gives it a certain depth that I hadn't noticed before, but thinking about now, there is a depth to the book that you don't quite realise, and it is very realistic and very prominent. It's one that I've recommended to lots of people, and it definitely deserves winning the Costa Award in 2014. I really enjoyed this book. It's written in a way that is easy to read, and you don't feel like the facts are forced on you. It's something you move along with at Maud's pace, and both in the past and in the present, you're sympathetic to all the characters, and you just find yourself getting really involved in what is going on. I'm just so impressed by this book, both in how well it's been written, how it's treated dementia, especially since I think it's Emma Healey's first novel, so it's just win all around. I would definitely recommend picking it up if you're interested in dementia or you know someone with dementia, it's definitely one that you need to read, and I think you'll enjoy it. And if you're interested in learning more about Alzheimer's disease or dementia, I'll put the links to the Alzheimer's Society in the description below, along with links to where you can buy this book and the Goodreads page as well, so you can find out a bit more about it. But yes, I would definitely recommend reading it. It is one that I have really enjoyed. I'm so glad I picked it up. Even though it's fairly short, it does capture a large range of emotions and stories and subplots, and you just can't help but come away with it feeling like you've learned something. So I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars, leaning more towards 5 than 4. So yeah, please do read this book. It's a really good book. That's it from me for today. Hopefully I'll have some more books reviews up soon, since I'm falling slightly behind. Until next time, goodbye.